Okay, so I will present you a little bit the history and who this project is made. So thanks to the sponsors. So the history was, like he said, the fact that I want to try to implement content security policy in DNN, and this stuff that I mark in red, these were the problems that are generated by web forms. It's inline JavaScript. It's the two JavaScripts injected by the web forms framework that include eval functions of JavaScript that cannot be used with content security policy. And so that was the initial reason to think about a way to render the pages in DNN without web forms. So just to let the other advantages or benefits that we can have to run MVC in an MVC pipeline was to get cleaner HTML, no big form anymore in the HTML, no view state anymore. So the page becomes lighter, which is better for SEO. We can make it more secure thanks to the fact that we now can really implement content security policy very strictly. In theory, we can get a little bit faster because the MVC pipeline is something lighter than the web forms pipeline. We can get rid of some deprecated JavaScript that is always included in the pages actually due to the web forms framework also. And we get better Google page speed, and we get some advantages in the configuration of Azure Fire rules, but it's just something some people tell to us. So the other thing that is a reason to render in MVC was it's part of .NET framework, so it need some big changes in DNN, and DNN have already dependencies on all MVC5 stuff because of the MVC modules already exist in DNN, which for that reason a lot of DLLs are already included in DNN for MVC. And another advantage of moving to MVC is the fact that we get a little bit closer to .NET Core, because in .NET Core there is no web forms anymore, but there is MVC, so we can start from this MVC work to go to .NET Core eventually. The other benefits is that we get a little bit more modern development, and we can in this pipe we have to write all the skins in Razor, because in MVC you can only use Razor. And we have some more modernization also on the part of the MVC modules. Actually, the MVC modules of DNN are wrapped in a web forms control. We will see the MVC modules can directly run in the MVC pipeline without being wrapped in a web form control. So the ideas of this pipeline was to adding MVC page rendering to DNN without web forms at all. So there is no way to run a web form module in this pipeline. We have to make the modules compatible to this pipeline to have the possibility to run our modules in this pipeline. But we leave the ability to have a mix of web forms and MVC page on website. So you can really decide page per page if you want to run this page in the MVC pipeline or in the web forms pipeline. So we can migrate a little bit our website step by step. That was the idea. So the idea was also to have no changes in the admin user interface of DNN and to stay as much as possible to the existing DNN features. And so thanks to the I will say the good architecture of DNN, the layered architecture that is mostly used in the core of DNN and mostly also in the modules of DNN. We have this layered architecture, and what we need is just change the presentation layer to change this presentation layer from webforms to MVC. If we go a little bit more in detail of how a page is rendered in DNN, we have a unique webform page, the default ASPX. You know about that probably. It's a unique page that dynamically render the different pages of your website. And the rendering of the pages in DNN is made by some web form controls, all the ASC6 files. This is done for the skin objects, for the panes, the container, and all the modules. Everything is made by web form controls. So we have to find some way to convert all this stuff to MVC stuff. It's done in the MVC pipeline is that the default ASPX file is converted to a default MVC controller with a layout page, like in standard MVC. The skin is converted to a razor file that becomes the view of the controller. All the skin objects are converted to HTML helpers. It's something that you can use in a razor file with @html dot and then the name of the skin object with the parameters. All the panes that you have in the skins need to be rendered with a HTML helper. The containers are implemented as a razor partial, just a razor file. So you get the skin and the containers that are just razor files, nothing more. And all your modules need to be converted to child actions controllers. It's a special kind of controller in MVC5. It's like a child controller that can be rendered in a main controller that contain a controller and a view. So a controller and a razor file. The code behind of your web form controller goes to your controller file, and the ASC6, the HTML markup of your web form controls goes to the razor view. This pattern is used for the modules, but also some of the web form controls of the core of DNN, like the module actions rendering, or can be used for other stuff. But for rendering, yes, the persona bar, actually it's included in the web form control in DNN, and we create another child controller for that. So the approach that is used for the extensions is that to have a site that can be run in this MVC pipeline, we have to add MVC support to an existing web form skin. For the web forms module, it's the same. You have to add MVC support to an existing web form module, so your modules can be used on an MVC page or a web form page. It can be used on the two. For the existing MVC modules of DNN, it's little bit easier because they are automatically supported on the boss. Peter will speak a little bit more about that after. So I will show a little demo about that. So actually, it's not really a finished product. It's more like a prototype. But so yeah, we are just on a fresh DNN 10 site. We are on the home page, which is just running in web forms like normally. And here you will see that we have some additional pages. And if we yes, this, for example, is an MVC page in that's running in the MVC pipeline, and you can see it by the prefix that is added in the page title here. If I log in, I go to the login page. If you can see that this page is not running in MVC. So you can see that we can easily mix just web form page with MVC pages. And now if I log in, the redirection of the login goes back to the MVC 10 page and goes back to the MVC rendering pipeline. So now this is rendered in MVC. The persona bar is rendered in MVC. We can edit HTML. If you see here, we are still in the MVC pipeline. All the actions available in the HTML module are already implemented in MVC. And if we, I will just log out, and if we look a little bit to the HTML of the page, we can see here we have no big form anymore. Actually, we have just a small form to be compatible with DNN, just to pass the client-side variables. But for the rest, we can also see that all the JavaScript, you can see here some JavaScript. Yes, here, for example, we have JavaScript, and we see there is a nonce added automatically to the JavaScript to be compatible with content security policy. So that's who it's work for an end users. I will just show you a little bit who a skin is made. So we have here just the standard DNN 10 skin. You see it here, the standard web form skin. This skin is made with a lot of includes. Here you get the panes, and the header, the menus are made with includes. Here you see, for example, the login, skin objects, and so on. To make this skin compatible with MVC, what you have to do is just create a views folder in it. You see here, a views folder, and recreate each skin in Razor. So that's the equivalent skin in Razor, where you can find the panes that are created with HTML helpers. You can include sub-Razor files, little bit like it was done in web forms. And if we go to the header also, you will see here all the skin objects. The skin object have exactly the same name and exactly the same parameters. So it's not so difficult to convert your AC6 skin to a razor skin. For showing you a little bit who you have to make your module compatible with MVC, it's a little bit the same. And here, like I say, we have to implement child action controller for each control of your module. So a module, in a module extension, you have the module definition. You have, for example, for the HTML module, we have 3 controls, one for the view, one for the edit, and one for my work, I think. So for each control that we have, you can see it here in webforms, we have to create one child controller. For the view, we have here the child controller with the method that creates the model for the view, and we have a views folder with the razor files corresponding to the view of the controllers. For implementing all the postbacks, you know, in webforms, each button is implemented with a click event that generates a postback. Here in this example, all the postback are re-implemented with Ajax posts. So there is a small JavaScript file that implement all the posts that are sent to an additional controller, and this is a controller that will be executed by the save action, for example, and can maybe return just HTML that update HTML in Ajax. But this is just an example of implementation. You can surely implement it also as a SPA, or the other possibility is to implement it like a DNN module. But Peter will talk more about that. So that's a bit what I want to show. Peter, do you want to show a little bit more about?
You know, we're going to redo everything again. So the code needed to come out into its own project, into its own DLLs, which is here. So we've got .nuke.web.mvc pipeline, .nuke.web.mvc URL rewriter, because we need to figure out which pipeline it's going to be when you hit a certain URL. And the .nuke.web.mvc website, I think it captures all of this, like the skin controls and those kind of things. Right. So there's a couple of projects that we started to make sure that the code came outside of the core project, and we made it all DNN 10 compatible. Meaning now, the core team just goes on doing DNN 10, with security fixes and maybe some new features, etc. But every time we could just merge whatever was there into our project and keep up to date.
So I would like to see a show of hands of everybody that wants this, so that we can. Okay?
More free than us. Okay, can we end with a big applause for the person that made this possible?